So how many here had a very nice, normal, and happy childhood? How many here? Okay, wow, well, most of you. Well, good for you. Because I have to tell you, my childhood sucked. My parents divorced when I was 18 months old, and my mother, she didn't want me. In fact, she never wanted to have children, and I was kind of that accident. And when she was told by the doctor that she was pregnant with me, her response was anger and then disappointment. Disappointment for the rest of the 9 months until I was born, and then a few months later, they decided that they were going to divorce, and so she just enthusiastically threw me and tossed me to my father, walked out the front door, never looked back. Now you have to understand, my dad was only 23 years of age at the time that I was born, and he had just moved from the San Francisco Bay Area, where his whole family network was, to what seemed like the middle of nowhere, Albuquerque, New Mexico, to take a job as an overworked, underpaid university football coach. And so the only way that he knew how to parent, was how he coached football. And it was just he and I out there with this toddler where he was just trying to figure it out. So this was his parenting strategy. He would just shove me in the corner of a couch, barricade me with pillows to try to keep me in, put headphones on my head to try to keep me quiet. And if you see the stunned look I had on my face, I had that pretty much most of my childhood under my dad's parenting. And as I mentioned, you just kind of had to fend for yourself. Survival of the fittest was definitely the modus of operandi in our household. And as I mentioned, he coached like he parented like he coached football, which meant there was no whining, no crying, no excuses, lots of yelling, and a whole lot of cursing. Y'all remember the movie Full Metal Jacket? Okay, Sergeant Gunnery, that was my father, essentially, or his twin. And growing up in our household was like growing up in his own personal little boot camp. In fact, my dad was infamous for one of his coaching philosophies on the gridiron, and that was no matter how hurt a player got on the field during the game, they were not allowed to come out of the game, no matter what. Well, one time this linebacker just gets smashed in the middle of the field. He wobbles to the sideline, begs my dad to take him out of the game. My dad grabs him by the face mask, veins ripping, teeth clenched, spitting through it. "Not unless you're showing bone." And he pulled back his shoulder pad, and out from his neck skin was sticking his collarbone. And so whenever I got really sick and I begged my dad to stay home from school, he'd yell from the other side of the house, what? "Not unless you're showing bone," and I'd have to drag my sorry ass out to school. Well, when I was age 4, my dad married my stepmonster. Yeah, I did not mispronounce that. And they went on to have 2 other children. And because in her eyes, I was of the other woman, she did everything she could to try to ostracize me from the family at every turn. So I was literally, as you can see here, a redheaded stepchild. And you can see that my dad tried to save money by cutting my hair himself, which I think I suffer more emotional trauma from than anything else of my childhood. Now, I tell you that story because the reason why I get the chance to be in front of you here today as the high-functioning achiever that I have become is precisely because of this dysfunctional upbringing. You see, a lot of people look at their past as wounds that they need to heal from, when in actuality, those are the muscles and the training development that you've had that now allows you to go out and do extraordinary things that ordinary people just can't do. You see, your adversities are your advantages. It's like how you build a muscle. You know how you build a muscle, right? You put it under intense stress and strain, over and over, intense stress and strain. When you do that, you're actually tearing the muscle fiber. You're breaking it down, you're defeating it. But then in rest and recovery, it grows back bigger than it was before, and now you can lift heavier objects than you could have before. So I hope your childhood did suck, or I hope that something in your journey thus far has been struggle and difficulty and strife and failure and setback, because those will be the muscle development that you'll need to now go out and do the extraordinary things that ordinary people just can't do. But it is a matter of perspective to see empowerment rather than as suppression.